The Ill-Fated Bathtime. Written by Ever Squirrely. Read by Arashi. Day wore into nighttime. Hubert sagged deeper into his desk with each report he reviewed. Even after reluctantly delegating much of his reporting and analysis, he still found himself struggling to finish his work each day. The two precious reasons for those delays shrieked and splashed in the bath across the house, and while distracting, Hubert appreciated how much easier it was to concentrate than during their daytime thundering about the house, until Hubert was corrected by a loud tumult. The cacophony included splashing water, Ferdinand's unheeded protests, Rudolph shrieking, "No!" and a storm of small feet, culminating, of course, to a very naked Rudy, sopping wet, soak frothing from one side of his head, frozen in Hubert's door as he realized he had been caught. "Excuse me, stranger." Hubert leaned forward, folding his arms. "Who are you?" Rudy giggled guiltily. "Me." Hubert frowned. "It cannot be you. You know better than to appear in my office without a stitch of clothing."
"Uh-oh,"
Rudy gasped. "Indeed." Hubert stood, planting his hands on his desk. "What time is it?" Rudy wiggled awkwardly, soap dripping from his head to the carpet.
"Bath time?"
"Yet you are not in the bath." "Rudolph!" Ferdinand called. Oh, his serious parent tone. The floorboards groaned under Ferdinand's chase. "My word, you would think I intend to boil him in poison!" Ferdinand stammered as he arrived. Ruby darted into Hubert's room, equally far from each of them. "Ruby, please," Ferdinand pleaded. Hubert couldn't resist the smirk at seeing Ferdinand, a true nobleman, in his undershirt. He obviously had to shed his overcoat, as there was still water that had soaked through, and suds gathered near Ferdinand's collar.
"I don't want to take a bath,"
Rudy asserted, hands on his hips like he was oh so grown, even without a stitch of clothing to his name. "Ferdy Dad does it wrong!" Rudy stamped.
"He can't do the jelly bath."
The jelly bath was the child-given name for when Hubert added just enough Mire magic to the bathwater that, if needed, he could pin Ruby down. Ironically, Rudy adored it, since it had a thicker, viscous quality that fascinated him to no end. Ferdinand lacked the ability to cast Mire, and, therefore, found himself at a clear disadvantage, to say nothing of the fact that Ferdinand would likely never cast it even if he could. It leaves a lingering smell and presence and is obviously working against the intention of a bath, Ferdinand had claimed in the past. He was, however, too clever to dissuade a child from it based on the smell or cleanliness. Ferdinand, in the present, circled the room with all of the studied practice a general in Her Majesty's war should have. "I have told you," Ferdinand insisted wearily, "that jelly bath is a sometimes treat, not an every night treat."
"No!" Rudy stamped. "Jelly bath for all!"
"Only sometimes," Ferdinand began.
"Not for the few!"
Rudy cried.
"For all, not few!"
A flash of Ferdinand's eyes screamed frustration, desperation, and the unique parental sensation of pride mixed with annoyance. It took everything in Hubert not to laugh. So, Rudy had understood Ferdinand's current campaign. Education for all, not the few. Hubert circled in front of the desk, tapping his finger against his lip. Time to intervene. "Rudolph does have a point," he said, winking to Ferdinand. "We must be consistent." Ferdinand's jaw set and his eyes blazed, as though to say, "Don't you dare." Hubert did dare. "It is unjust to limit a jelly bath for the few." Hubert sighed as though nothing could be done. "I suppose that means we should no longer do jelly baths at all." Rudy replied with ear-piercing sobs. He dropped to the floor in the fetal position, screaming, "No!" over and over again. Ferdinand, too shocked to scold, wearily said, "And now our child is naked on the floor, screaming. Just allow him his moment of mourning the jelly bath." Hubert beckoned his drenched husband towards him. "And leave him soaking your carpet full of lye?" Ferdinand replied. Hubert smirked. In comparison to the vomit he filled it with a few weeks ago, this may actually benefit the carpet. A smile broke on the edge of Ferdinand's lips. It disappeared as he reluctantly circled Ruby's wailing form, a mixture of concern and helplessness. "I wish he had made his escape after I finished rinsing," Ferdinand said tensely. Hubert circled his arm behind Ferdinand's back. "We'll have to include that as we delve deeper into etiquette," Hubert replied. Ferdinand laughed. As Hubert trailed his fingers through Ferdinand's hair, Ferdinand dropped his head on Hubert's shoulder. Rudy still screamed. Periodically, he would glance out of the corner of his eye, as though to confirm they were still looking. When he saw them talking, he screamed a bit louder. Ferdinand shivered against him. And of course, the moment he made a break for it, Annalise saw an opportunity. Thank the goddess I tripped while standing up, or I may not have noticed her lurking just beyond the door, waiting for me to chase after Rudy. Perhaps she wished to be of help, Hubert observed. Ferdinand's eyes flared. She intended to help Rudy by pouring saints knows what into the bathtub, some horrible mixture of questionable ingredients, hoping to show me up with her own jelly bath. Hubert couldn't help but laugh. Wherever could that unsettling need to be superior have positively come from? Exactly! Ferdinand's eyes were wild as he shook his head. They are not even our children by blood, and they somehow have your stubbornness. My stubbornness? Hubert mused. Yes! Ferdinand leaned against Hubert, the cold of the water finally seeping through Hubert's overcoat. Just a few months in the house with you, and they have become completely unwilling to compromise. Hubert would love nothing more than to remind Ferdinand that he was at least Hubert's equal in stubbornness. Instead, he smirked. Just kiss me, damn you. Ferdinand obliged, a short, cautious kiss. As he stared back to look at Rudy, Hubert tipped Ferdinand's chin towards him. Don't give him the pleasure. And Rudy kept screaming. At least we have a son who is persistent, Ferdinand confessed. Though, if this phase continues much longer, I will lose years off my life. Hubert gathered his chilly, wet husband against his chest. He will learn that this behavior doesn't achieve the outcome he wished for, Hubert insisted. All of us must learn what is and isn't within our control. Ha! Ferdinand looked up to Hubert accusingly. Tell me then, why have you never learned it? Hubert kissed Ferdinand's hair, chuckling darkly. From the corner of his eye, it seemed as though Rudy had finished. Bath time? Hubert asked evenly.
Jelly bath?
Rudy asked tearfully. No, Hubert replied. And as the screaming resumed, Hubert had not succeeded yet. Ferdinand looked accusingly up at Hubert. I am beginning to think perhaps you are outmatched. Not in patience, Hubert insisted. Very well. Ferdinand moved away from Hubert, circling out of Rudy's reach. I shall take my own bath. It shall be free of miry putrescence. And I shall take my time, as it seems you will need some time to sort this out. Hubert forced calmness. Enjoy your bath. His throat, however, tightened as the office door closed behind Ferdinand.
No!
Rudy screeched, thrashing from side to side. Yes, we are for now trapped here, Hubert replied to the small, naked child. I have endured far worse tortures, and have not been broken. Rudy's eyes, red and puffy, glared accusingly into Hubert.
You're mean!
Hubert sighed, returning to his seat. I have also been told that many, many times. As punishment, Rudy somehow increased his volume. Hubert attempted to sit and resume his reports, or, at least, pretend such a thing was possible.